Okay, it's rolling.
Okay, so what was your impression coming here with you as a young father, seeing young fans and dogs waiting for you?
What was my impression? Well, it's the same as usual. I mean, we have that sort of response. Most places we go to, we have fans that follow us and are very hardcore fans, that will wait for us at the concert. They wait for us at the hotel to see us or to have an autograph or a picture with us. I mean, as a father, it's no different from when I wasn't a father. We've been doing this for 5 or 6, 7 years now.
Does it bore you? Or?
If it bored me, I wouldn't do it.
What about the dogs? It was a bit shocking.
Would have been shocking if they didn't have the mask on, yeah. But yeah, it was a bit shocking, yeah. I mean, that's Germany.
What's your last album? Music for the Masses? Depeche. I felt it like a kind of rupture of a family affair. I mean, you didn't work with Daniel Miller or in a different way, and maybe they had some changes.
Yeah, we wanted to change a bit our way of working, but it wasn't really like a big split. I mean, there's nothing unfriendly, you know. We just and we still work with Daniel a lot, you know. But we wanted a different atmosphere, different place, and a different engineer, just for a change, really, because a change is always good for your head, you know. And that was the only reason, really.
We have a saying in England that a change is good as a rest, and that's basically what it was. And it was very enjoyable for us to do. I think working with David Bascom on the album was very good for the band. I think we were closer together working.
Even though he's a lazy pig.
Even though he's a lazy
slob.
But no, it was really good. It was good working on the album with him. I mean, I think I speak for Alan as well. I personally enjoyed it more than the last 2 albums working on those, because it became a bit of a strain, and it became very hard to get through the album because of the team we were working with. We've been working with Daniel and Gareth for too long, and there was the ideas that used to flow were sort of getting a bit shorter, a bit thinner, and it was harder and harder.
How do you work together in Depeche Mode? Because we know that you are a singer and that Martin has written almost all songs. Is there any kind of frustration from just being a musician in Depeche Mode?
No, I don't think so. I think if we want to do other things, we can do it. You know, there's no restriction from the record company or anything to do other things. So if ever we're frustrated, we can do other things if we want to. But within the group, it's a very easy working atmosphere. Really, Martin, he's a very unusual songwriter because he doesn't want to dictate everything. Once he's written a song, that's the most important thing for him. After that, everything else is not, you know, he doesn't mind other people kind of almost taking over and developing the song into something else and doing other things to it, you know. Whereas some songwriters are very dictatorial, they must have it this way, it must be like this, it's my song, you know. He's not like that, so, you know, there's still a lot of room to manoeuvre and do different things.
It's a very weird setup. It's not like a standard band setup really at all. You know, Martin doesn't really get involved that much in the mixing of the songs either. Although at the end he'll say whether he likes it or not. He doesn't actually sit at the desk and say, this is how I want my song to sound. He doesn't do that.
Your situation of the band is quite special with Mute Records. It means, is it true that there is no written contract?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, it's a verbal contract, which is the same.
We don't actually have a written out 50-page contract which says what we can and can't do. If we want to do something, we discuss it, and if it's a bad idea, we don't do it.
Don't you think that you are in a very special situation? I mean, you are considered mainly as a pop band with some new musical inventions, like using the sampling more maybe than the other pop bands, and at the same time you are connected with some special bands like Chvrches and
Well, see, we're not connected with those bands. The only way we're connected with those bands is the fact that with some of those bands we're on the same label. We haven't actually actually worked with those bands. Although we do take influence, obviously, because not in the way that you take direct ideas, but when you listen to that type of music, it obviously reflects on what you do as well. And we're able to listen to that type of music because that music is on mute records, and therefore it's easy for us to get to those sort of records. Whereas, for instance, if we were on a bigger label and there was a lot of other groups around us not maybe as interested as those sort of bands, things would be different.
The main difference really with being with a smaller label, independent company, is your attitude to the way you go about doing everything, really. I think that's where the difference is.
Is it still possible now that you are so big? I mean, in Europe and in America, you have no personal manager or just tour?
No, I mean we can do as we please, basically. I mean we're not the sort of group where our faces are so important. It's the music that comes through. So we're able to go out on the street. We're able to go shopping where we live at home.
Here.
Yeah, I mean we could. See, the thing is, what you have to remember is this is a concert tonight. This is a Depeche Mode concert. It's a special event. It happens here maybe once a year, and all the fans come because they know they're going to see us. If tomorrow you could come here, or the next day there wouldn't be any here. I could walk across there. I could walk out there. It's because it's an event, you know. The fans are all coming today, you know. It's.
They expect to see you. If they don't expect you, they don't see you.
They don't come out. You know. I could walk down the street in the high street probably and not be recognised. Any of us could.
I think, you know, if the as far as the management thing goes, you know, if we were to become even more successful in America, for example, we might have to think about getting some kind of management, or at least some business management or something, because we can't possibly handle everything. But in Europe, we have a team of people that work very closely with us, you know. We have our own offices and various people work in those offices. So even though we are managing ourselves, there's a lot of people that carry out the work, you know. So I think it is possible to keep the executive kind of control, you know, without having to resort to big, heavy-duty management who take 25% of everything.
We've managed to keep things pretty small, on a small scale, in the way that, you know, we're still in control of everything we do. We pay people to do things for us. Business side of things, our agent, things like that.
Isn't it a bit frustrating to be put sometimes in the same field as, I don't know, Curiosity Killed the Cat or the other pop bands?
Same field as bands, aren't they?
Or I mean, just pop bands.
No, because we don't. This is something that is always created by people like you, and we don't feel we're a part of any other band. We're Depeche Mode, and we're able to go out and play to people for 9 months, playing to 10, 15,000 people a night. And that's something that we're very proud of. And really, the things that are outside of that, if journalists want to sort of group us in with another group, then they can. It doesn't really affect what we do.
Yeah, I mean, groups are always categorised, you know, and every group will say we're not in a category, we're out, you know, individual kind of thing. But as Dave says, we don't feel a part of any particular kind of group, you know, we just do what we do. We like to think there's a bit of depth to it for those people that want to look further, you know, they find something more in the music rather than just disposable pop music.
Why did you decide to work with Anton Corbijn, who is really...
We like what he does.
Yes, but what in his work is... Because it's very different from your sleeve records, for instance.
Well, he just almost liked things that he'd done, and seen a lot of that he'd done, obviously, and he was interested in working with us as well. And he hadn't really made many videos to that point. He was interested in getting into video, and that's really how we got together.
I mean, there's not too many people working within video that have many original ideas, you know. And when we saw one or two things that Anton had done, we thought this is very different looking and very kind of personalised kind of way of seeing things, you know, very stylised, yeah. We liked it. So, sorry.
And now, of course, it's virtually every video's trying to imitate those sort of ideas with small cameras, using small cameras just to go out and film. But Anton made a good point that when people use cameras like this, small amateur cameras, they feel because it's a small camera they should shake it around so then it looks like an amateur film. But I mean, you know, why do they do that? Why do they sort of do this with the camera to make it look more amateur? It's quite funny. It's a point that he made the other day when we was working. I thought that was quite a good point.
We're doing a long video with Anton now. It'll be half an hour, a small film, so that should be good.
It's kind of documentary.
No. It's like it's the single "Strange Love" that let me down.
Question of time.
But also another track from the album as well, maybe, and some extra bits to link it all together and try and make a long kind of story.
It's funny because there is such a contrast with the sleeve records, like the picture on the sleeve records, that are quite colorful, of course, very clean and
completely doesn't actually like our artwork at all. He told us the other day. But he's very different, yeah. But I mean, we just like what he does, and you know, he's really very good to work with for us. We get on very well with him, and he's very easy to work with. You know, that's something that is very hard to find, especially with video directors. They try to dictate too much and they don't let you use your own imagination at all.
It's a deliberate idea as well to try to contrast that, you know, to try and get a more human sort of emotional element from the videos, because that doesn't really come across. I mean, it comes across in the songs, but sometimes it's not represented on the covers and the sleeves and the pictures that we do, which can be very graphic, very sort of cold almost. You know?
Maybe they don't bring across our actual characters.
For example, the pictures that we did in the tour program, they're very kind of almost erotic, sort of very kind of warm, sort of. There's some naked shots, you know, not pornographic, but you know, very sort of human looking. And again, the idea behind that is to try and get an unexpected side of the group, you know, to try and show people there's this other side of the group rather than this hard, you know, cold sort of. Because people always associate synthesizers and samplers with lack of emotion and coldness, you know, and it's not true. You know, with our songs, they're very emotional and very sort of personal. So the idea is to try and show that.
Anton's keen to try and get that across. You know, to try and get. He feels our music is very emotional, and that some of our videos in the past haven't put that across. For instance, "We've Never Let Me Down." The pictures with the music are very big and powerful, big powerful pictures, and that's you know what we wanted to get across, and what Anton understood as well. And he does it very well. You know.
What do you think of the principle of sampling the sound? Because there is a lot of problems now. Some bands complain that their songs are sampled by other bands.
It's a very fine line between what's stealing and what is, you know, sampling. We don't believe that we ever stick. We sample people's sounds. We sample our own new sounds. But sometimes we sample other people's sounds. But we would never sample a piece of music,
A riff or a tune,
which means a melody or something that's recognizable as somebody else's music. We would never do that. I think that is wrong. But I think it's perfectly okay to take maybe a snare drum and then treat it your own way and do something with it.
make it yours.
And in the end, people, they could never possibly tell you that it came from somewhere else. And that's a good way to use sampling. And we are quite happy if other people take our music as well.
Which they do.
That's a compliment, you know. I think it's a compliment if someone thinks your sounds are good enough to sample. But yes, you can't just take great big chunks of music, 30 seconds, and put it on a record and say, there it is, that's mine.
When it is done, that's created the problems. There's a lot of rap stuff in America where they've taken big chunks of songs. And James Brown's voice, you know. I mean, you can.
That's taking it
to an extreme, you know. James Brown's got a unique voice, and you know, to steal his voice is like, you know, it's something that we wouldn't do.
You sometimes sample natural noises.
Oh yeah, most of the time.
Could you give us an example of what's natural on your last album, Music for the Mess?
A lot of acoustic stuff, you know.
Beginning of I Want You Now, there's a sound, breathing kind of sound. It's actually an accordion, but without playing
just
the
the wind, just the air. It sounds like the lungs, someone who smokes too much.
So that's an example of the way we try to sample sounds. I think rather than sample the actual sound of the accordion, just sample the air, that the wind bag makes is more interesting maybe, than just having the notes like a normal accordion.
It has to suit the part. I mean, obviously we don't just sample any sound and just shove it on a record. That there has to be a sound that we're looking for is often something that we feel we can't find that sound anywhere else, and so then but we know what kind of sound we're looking for, so we go around and just look for things that and hit things and see if we can get a sound near to what we're looking for on that particular song to create a particular atmosphere.
You can get good percussion sounds from the kitchen. Saucepans and glasses and knives and forks.
You're also interested in some kind of avant-garde music, or?
Yeah, I am. I like some kind of systems music, things like that. With a little bit of
repetitive music.
Yeah, I mean that's more my personal taste, really.
What's your feeling about the friends referred to the band?
Well, we've just recently, in the last couple of days, started to get to know them and say hello and speak, and they seem very nice. But we haven't heard too much of the music. I've heard one album, which is good, I liked it.
About your success in America, if you become even bigger than you are, how could you stand it? I mean,
we could stand it quite easily. We'd love it. We'd love it. But we want to be successful in America. It'd be very good for America for Depeche Mode to be successful. If I feel that by being successful, bands like Depeche Mode, New Order, the Smiths, it's good. We're educating the Americans with good music. They don't have to listen to REO Speedwagon for the rest of their life. There are other things.
Do you plan to play in some Eastern countries also?
Yeah.
Next year. We haven't finalised the dates yet.
It should be playing in Hungary, Czechoslovakia,
possibly Poland, I don't know.
Can't remember.
You've already planned in Japan?
Yeah.
Other places in Asia?
Yeah,
Thailand, Bangkok, in Thailand.
You like to bring more folkloric music from these kind of countries in your own music? You think it's possible?
You can get some good
sounds, from local bands.
It's very difficult to actually understand some of the musical concepts from those places.
Rhythm, arrangement, and stuff like that.
I think sometimes it's when the West try to take something from there, they do it in a fairly naive kind of, because they don't really understand the musical scale that maybe the Indians use, for example. But I think you can get a lot of really good sounds, ethnic sounds, percussion sounds and string sounds, string instruments, and we're quite interested in that. Yeah. Sometimes before we make an album, we might go to a musical instrument shop and hire lots of unusual instruments.
So we might go to Thailand.
Yeah. And when we're travelling around, sometimes we buy instruments from strange places, and bring them back and sample them.
We get given them as gifts as well sometimes from people. Bands bring, in Japan for instance, you get sometimes given strange instruments which we then take back and sample things, toys and stuff as well, toy instruments. You get some interesting sounds sometimes from toy instruments, drums.
On the last album?
I don't know if we did on the last album, but here and there possibly, yeah.
What kind of toys?
I can't remember
small glockenspiel type things.
Toy guitar.
With
little piano, wind-up pianos.
Why don't you play them on stage?
Yeah,
you wouldn't.
The thing is, you can't because
it's different. You don't quite understand the concept of sampling. It's not like you get up and play that instrument. We take maybe one sound, a string of the guitar, one ding or a ding, or nothing like that. We don't actually play them on the album.
And also when you sample, if you sample them and then you play them 2 octaves down on the keyboard, then you put them through an effect and through an amplifier, and then you gate it, and then you record it.
It might sound like a heavy guitar sound.
It sounds completely different. If you then try to play it on stage, you can't get anything like that. So
we rarely use produce a sound that's totally acoustic and totally untreated, you know, in some way, apart from things like piano. Okay, thank you very much.